Welcome, Pisces, your high voltage Mars square Pluto deep dive video for the ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. From the 22nd of May through to the 30th, one of astrology's most highly charged, turbulent, and potentially challenging planetary influences unfolds. It hasn't occurred for 2 years. It reaches a peak on the 26th, and on the screen is your event chart at that exact moment from a Pisces perspective. I'm going to unpack this for you so you can work with this energy, and by the end of the forecast have a clearer understanding of how to navigate this in terms of your vitality, your job, your relationships, or your finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. But please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. Mars and Pluto are the two co-regents, co-rulers of the deep, intense sign of Scorpio. But Mars is also the ruler of the sign of Aries, a fire sign. And that's the passion that Mars has. It's very much about initiation, drive, willpower, determination, grit, courage. Can be to do with uh, impatience. It's certainly to do with our identity, our sense of self, and therefore can be our ego. But that thrust is something that can be such an asset to us. But it also can be an energy which can be defensive. So if we need to protect ourselves, that's when it moves more into its warrior spirit. Pluto is the planet of deep transformations. It can be to do with the subconscious, certainly to do with the underworld, but it can also be to do with a series of transformations that we experience in our lives. When we come to the end of something, it can be incredibly painful, but then Pluto will rebirth something different to take us forwards. But it can be to do with truth, and it can be to do with uh, power. So, in the respective signs they're in at the moment on the screen, Mars is in the Earth sign of Taurus, a fixed sign. Pluto in the air sign of Aquarius, a fixed sign. So, one of the big things to take from this straight away, if we're rigid and we don't want to flex, we're going to increase the tension. But Mars in the sign of Taurus is very much about how we identify perhaps with our value as a person. It may be our self-worth, it can be our possessions, it can be our money, but also Mars can be about desire. And because the ruler of Taurus is Venus, which is very sensual, that desire can be amped up with Mars in this sign. But for you, it's in the third house. And Mars here gives us an appreciation of being a bit more physically active, but it also can see us wanting to express our opinions. And Mars in Taurus energy can be quite unyielding. You know, if it has a particular viewpoint, it can be very attached to that viewpoint. Pluto, on the other hand, is the planet of the collective in the sign of us collectively, the sign of community, Aquarius. And Pluto in this sign is really, I feel, making us more conscious the whole time around how the speed of change, although on the face of it breathtaking, it is having quite the impact on us all, whether it is to do with automation, robotics, artificial intelligence. How will it affect all of us collectively is a big question with Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. But undoubtedly, because Aquarius is an air sign and therefore about communication, that is a big theme. But for you, Pluto's in the 12th house, which can be very complex. So because Pluto can be very much to do with our subconscious, in your case, it may be through to 2043 when it initially moves into your sign before returning to Aquarius back into Pisces 244. From now until then, you may find out quite a lot about your deeper purpose, and it may be an evolving situation. But staying as we are might not be so much of a choice. My experience of Pluto over the years is that the more we try to resist change, the more painful it gets. But also sometimes when things do get taken off of us, at the time we're absolutely devastated. But when we look back on it, it is because in some very profound way it was right for us. So because they're in a square, we have third house energy, which can be chatty, with 12th house energy, which is very psychological. So I think between now and the end of the month, there could be a conversation which actually could be rather painful. You could be the one who leads that conversation. It may be an observation you make on someone close to you. It may be a very vivid memory that comes up. It could be that someone's going to challenge you about certain ways you are. It could be your beliefs, which is the third house. It could be how you are in your local community. And suddenly someone who doesn't quite get you could let you know about their objection to you, which could be a huge shock. And the way it happens could be very startling. So just be conscious that this could be, particularly for you, a bit of a testing set of days. And the thing is that Mars, of course, can be about aggression and Pluto can be about leverage. So it may be that, you know, if someone does have an opinion that doesn't quite meet with your view of yourself, however wounded it is, you may need to ask yourself quickly the question, is a reaction worth it? Because it might not be. That my wife uses an expression, we don't have to attend every row we're invited to. And that's exactly right. You know, sometimes there is a choice, even if people say things, and they do a lot these days, don't they, online, which can be quite cruel and mocking and persecuting. If we lean into it, we oxygenate it. So sometimes the choice is actually to turn the other cheek. And then that leaves the person who made the comment, it distills that comment, and then it puts the emphasis on them. Well, why did they say that? So if you do find yourself running into some hot water online, do choose your battles carefully, I'd say. But it could just be around maybe your fear. The 12th house position of Pluto is feeding into your ideology, your ideas at the moment, and that's something to consider. But let's take a wider view of the event chart. Your traditional ruler, Jupiter, is in your fifth house, which can be joyful and has been joined by Venus. Venus is in a delicious link with Mars. Despite this fearfulness or potential for a hidden enemy to suddenly show their hand, there could be someone else that you're drawn to at the moment, Mars and Venus, where actually the connection is electric and exciting. Absolutely lovely. We also have, through Pluto, the Moon, and the Sun, a grand air trine. But for you, all in psychological houses, which suggests you can think very deeply about why people might react to you the way they do, or why you have particular responses, or are there uh, attitudes that you're quite attached to, maybe even around the material world with Mars in Pluto, which are actually not feeding your soul. That could be something to consider. In a purely professional situation, if you're working in an environment which is very backbiting and not very easy, you may yearn for something that's much more supportive, and a change could actually be for the good. We do have the moon, however, in an opposition with Saturn. So if you are concerned about finances or the ins and outs or who does and contributes what, it may be if you try to discuss that, Mars in the third house, someone may show their negativity through their fear. Just be conscious that that's quite blocking. And then also, if you're talking about money, Saturn's in a square with Venus. And that's an aspect that can cause mischief in a long-term relationship that may have had its moments. Most of them do, don't they? Let's be honest. But that one could be a bit more serious if something erupts to the surface that has been unspoken, resentment, maybe some bitterness that's been buried away. It could really be quite profound if the relationship has been struggling. One final thing to tell you is that your other ruler, your modern aquatic ruler, is in a lovely link with the sun, but is in an opposition with the moon, which can create a kind of distortion. But what I would say is the sun is in a T square with the node in your sign and the south node in the sign of Virgo. I think, therefore, if there's something that comes up that does feel very challenging, and because the sun is in the fourth house of your emotion and your sense of security, just trust that the North Node is taking you in the direction that's right for you. I'm going to summarize those 4 areas of vitality: your job, your finances, and your relationships next, Pisces. But just the same, my personal horoscopes used to be 2 and 30% off. Now you can get 3 for the price of 1. I'm recognizing that people are feeling the pinch. I want to do my bit. The one you pay for is your life roadmap report, which helps us to understand the patterns that play out in our lives and get a more intimate understanding of that energy and how to work with it better future forwards. Free, your 12 months transit, totally unique to you, but also your draconic soul karmic analysis, which moves the North Node to 0 degrees, the vernal point, and it can change our charts radically. And it can also help us to look at astrology, life, and ourselves in a very different way. Please check those out below. If you've yet to watch your Gemini 1 month Gemini season forecast on the screen, if you've yet to watch your Mars in Taurus 6-week forecast, that's on the screen. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, it'd be an absolute pleasure. Please see my testimonials below. And if you've yet to sign up for your free daily written horoscope fired to your device each morning, please see the link below. Get your early day celestial pit stop. So, as far as energy is concerned, with the moon opposite Neptune and Saturn, that is going to need some care. If you do find yourself between now and the end of the month being tempted to, escape whatever it is, calories, all the different things that attract us all, then just know that if you're doing that, it might be a good idea to ask yourself exactly why. As far as work is concerned, I have been saying this for some while. Adapting old skills and experience, wisdom and knowledge is going to be the way forward at the moment. But if you do work for yourself or you see an opportunity to work from home, I think this can be a very enriching time. If you work in an environment which is backbiting, this could be tricky. If you are wanting to reinvigorate an ongoing relationship, it's a great chance to do it, but it may be necessary to clear the air on some painful stuff that's been lingering in the depths. If a relationship is really, really getting to the end of its energy, I think the Saturn square Venus is quite the test. It just depends how much resentment or bitterness might be bubbling in the background. But if you're footloose and fancy free, very old saying, Venus and Jupiter in your 5th house can bring some magic to your life before the end of June, I should say. And when it comes to your finances, Saturn in the 2nd house along with Neptune, it does suggest being a little bit canny with your resources for sure. It's been a pleasure, Pisces. Thank you for joining me. All the best and look forward to seeing you again soon.